In December of 1872, a ship was found drifting in the Atlantic Ocean. Its sails were still partly set. Its cargo was still on board. There was food in the stores. Personal belongings had not been looted. But every person on the ship was gone. No bodies, no signs of a massacre, no clear evidence of a violent storm. The vessel was called the Mary Celeste, and more than 150 years later, the question remains the same. Why would an experienced captain abandon a seaworthy ship in the middle of the Atlantic? The ship that found her was the Dei Gratia. She was sailing across the Atlantic when her crew spotted another vessel moving strangely on the horizon. At first, it may have looked like any other ship under sail, but something was wrong. The Mary Celeste was not being handled properly. She was moving without command. When men from the Dei Gratia boarded her, they entered one of the most famous mysteries in maritime history. The ship was deserted. Captain Benjamin Briggs was gone. His wife and young daughter were gone. The crew was gone. The lifeboat was missing. And the last known entry in the ship's log was days old. The Mary Celeste had not sunk. She had not burned. She had not been destroyed. She had simply returned without her people. This is what made the mystery so difficult. The ship was abandoned, but it did not look like a ship that needed to be abandoned. She was damaged, but not fatally. She was wet, disordered, and drifting, but she was still afloat. Her cargo of industrial alcohol was still largely intact. Food and supplies remained. The captain's belongings had not been taken. There was no obvious sign of piracy, no clear sign of mutiny, no message explaining the decision, only an empty ship moving through the ocean as if the people on board had vanished from time itself. The Mary Celeste left New York in November 1872. Her destination was Genoa, Italy. On board was Captain Benjamin Briggs, a respected and experienced sailor. He was not known as reckless. He was not a desperate man. He brought his wife Sarah and their young daughter with him. That detail matters. A captain who brings his family to sea is not planning chaos. He is making a voyage he believes he can control. The ship carried barrels of alcohol. It was valuable cargo, but it was also dangerous. Alcohol vapors could build pressure. Leaks could create fear. And in the tight wooden body of a 19th century sailing ship, fear could move faster than proof. The last entry in the Mary Celeste's log placed her near the Azores. After that, the record stops. This silence is the heart of the case. We know the ship left New York. We know it was later found abandoned. We know the people on board were never seen again. But between the final log entry and the discovery, the story breaks. Something happened in that gap. Something serious enough for Briggs to leave the ship, but not serious enough to destroy it. That is the core contradiction. The danger was either real and invisible, or it was mistaken for something worse than it was. When the boarding party searched the Mary Celeste, they found clues that pointed in different directions. The ship had taken on water, but not enough to sink. Some equipment was damaged or missing. The lifeboat was gone. The people had not simply disappeared from the deck. They had left the ship, or they had been forced into the lifeboat. That difference changes everything. If they left by choice, what frightened them? If they were forced, who or what forced them? The ship gave no simple answer. It was not a wreck. It was not a crime scene in the usual sense. It was a floating question. The missing lifeboat is one of the strongest clues. It suggests that the people did not vanish instantly. They likely gathered themselves, they launched or entered the boat, they separated from the Mary Celeste. But that decision makes the mystery worse. A small boat in the open Atlantic is far more dangerous than a seaworthy brigantine. Captain Briggs would have known that, so the question sharpens. What could make a capable captain believe that the lifeboat was safer than the ship? Not forever, maybe only for a few minutes, and maybe only until the danger passed. But once the line between boat and ship was broken, the ocean may have made the decision permanent. One early suspicion was piracy, but the evidence does not fit cleanly. The cargo remained. Personal items remained. The ship was not stripped. A pirate attack should have left clearer signs: violence, theft, destruction. Instead, the Mary Celeste was strange because of what was still there. The mystery was not what had been taken, it was what had been left behind. Another theory was mutiny. Perhaps the crew turned against Captain Briggs. Perhaps a conflict broke out. Perhaps the captain and his family were forced from the ship. But again, the evidence is thin. There was no clear scene of violence, no confirmed trail of blood, no surviving witness, no confession. Mutiny can explain human disappearance, but it does not explain why everyone vanished and no one returned to claim the ship. A mutiny usually has a motive. The case has absence. The salvage hearings also raised the possibility of fraud. If the ship was abandoned deliberately, someone might profit. But this theory struggles with the human cost. Captain Briggs was not alone. His wife and child were on board. For fraud to explain the disappearance, it would require a conspiracy that risked the lives of nearly everyone involved. And then it would require all of them to disappear completely. No money trail solved it. No hidden survivors emerged. No clear fraud scheme closed the case. One of the most plausible theories involves the cargo. The Mary Celeste was carrying alcohol. If barrels leaked, vapor could have filled part of the hold. A captain might fear an explosion, not because the ship had already exploded, but because it might. In that scenario, Briggs may have ordered the people into the lifeboat temporarily. They may have planned to trail behind the ship at a safe distance, wait, watch, then return. But if the tow line broke or the weather shifted, the lifeboat would be left alone in the Atlantic. The ship would continue without them. And that is what the world eventually found, a vessel that survived the danger its people were trying to escape. The Mary Celeste mystery is often told like a ghost story. But the most important moment may have been painfully human. Imagine Captain Briggs standing on deck. The ship is unstable. The readings are uncertain. There may be water below. There may be vapor in the hold. The instruments may not be telling the whole truth. His wife is on board. His child is on board. His crew is waiting for command. A captain at sea does not need perfect knowledge to act. Sometimes he must decide before certainty arrives. If Briggs believed the ship was about to explode, abandoning it briefly could have seemed rational, not safe, but less dangerous than staying. The tragedy is that the danger may have passed. The ship survived, the people did not. The Atlantic is not a witness that preserves the truth. It breaks ropes, it scatters boats, it swallows bodies. It removes the final page. That is why the Mary Celeste became more than an abandoned vessel. It became a mystery built around missing evidence. The ship could tell investigators where she had been, but not why she had been left. The log could show the last ordinary moment, but not the first extraordinary one, and every theory must cross that empty space. Some cross it better than others. None cross it completely. After the Mary Celeste was brought to Gibraltar, investigators examined the case. They considered crime. They considered deception. They considered violence. But suspicion is not proof. The evidence never formed a complete answer. The ship continued to exist. The people did not. And that imbalance made the story impossible to forget. A normal wreck sinks. A normal crime leaves a pattern. A normal accident leaves debris. The Mary Celeste left something stranger, a working ship with no one left to explain it. Over time, the Mary Celeste became known as a ghost ship. The story was retold, reshaped, and exaggerated. Some versions made the meal still warm. Some added impossible details. Some turned uncertainty into myth. But the real story does not need invention. The facts are unsettling enough. A ship left New York with a captain, his family, and crew. Weeks later, it was found empty in the Atlantic. The lifeboat was gone. The people were gone. And no confirmed answer ever came back. The Mary Celeste may not be a story about monsters, pirates, or ghosts. It may be a story about a decision made under pressure. A captain saw danger. He acted to protect the people on board, and in doing so he may have led them away from the safest thing they had. The ship. That is the quiet terror of the Mary Celeste. Not that something supernatural happened, but that a reasonable choice, made with incomplete information, may have turned into a disaster. The ocean did not need to destroy the ship. It only needed to separate the people from it. The Mary Celeste came back. Her cargo came back. Her name came back. But the people who sailed her vanished into the Atlantic, and the sea kept the answer.